Riverside.
Oh my gosh, I can't control my mouse at all. It's the 4th&1 podcast. We're off to a hot start. Live from Lancaster and Linnets, Pennsylvania, Anchor.fm at 4th&1, and Instagram at 4th&1 podcast. Saved it. It's your boy, your host, Admiral You Like That, a.k.a. self-nickname, a.k.a. high blood pressure, sitting next to, as always, if a heart monitor was a person, it's Captain Boring.
I thought you were going to go with all medical thing. You could have gone with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and heartburn.
You know, I wasn't going to finish. And technically, if a heart monitor was a person, is a medical thing. Technically. So,
If you
womp
say
womp. That's Micaiah. As always, we have Robert on the face of the moon up there in the middle of nowhere. He's the Red Wonder. What it do, baby?
Just here for another day, my brother.
Okay.
Wow,
Robert.
that was the least enthusiastic you could have sounded.
You know what, though? We just build as this podcast goes. You start off slow, you give them the meat and potatoes in the middle, and then you bring that sweet dessert at the end.
Let's go!
Alrighty. Robert brought something, at least. We also brought most of our energy on Saturday. We joined you guys live. If you haven't gone and watched it, we had a little bit of fun. We watched one of the best games, probably the best game of the season so far. Would you guys agree with that?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
I mean,
That was-
was it, though? I mean,
No,
Texas
that-
Oklahoma was also a great game, too.
Okay, yeah, but which one was better? Pick!
All right, I'll go Texas Oklahoma.
Because
Okay.
it's garbage.
Yeah, I was going to get that response either way.
You were.
David.
I mean, they're probably the top two, without a doubt.
Yeah.
They're probably 1 and 1A. I'm going to say Oregon-Washington just because I didn't think that both teams in Texas, Oklahoma were playoff teams, but I think that both teams, Washington, Oregon, they're both playoff teams there. So that's why I'm just going to say it's the better matchup. Also to contradict
Hey.
Robert, just to sound different.
I have lights on me. Those work sometimes if I turn lights on. Yeah, I didn't watch too much of Texas, Oklahoma, but by the vibe that I got, should have kicked the field goal at the end of the quarter. You always take the points, of course.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. I don't mind him not kicking the field goal there. What I more mind is on 4th down, you're in your own territory or just on the other side of Washington territory with 2 minutes left in the game, 140 something. You're not punting the football at the end of the game with no timeouts, making them go the length of the field to try to score.
I mean, my point is you don't need them to score if you've already scored.
Well, they didn't take the field goal on 2 separate occasions. Robert, go ahead.
It's a toss-up in that situation because if we're being honest, neither defense was stopping each other.
Yeah.
Like the offense had free reign, so to not have the faith in the defense at that point and say, hey, you know what? Let's just go for this. We get the first down. Game's over. So either decision, he looks like a genius or he looks like a fool.
No.
Unfortunately, that's just the way the game is. You play to win the game, and you don't
Yeah,
play for
but
the future. You play
people
for
are
the
like,
now.
you play to win the game. Okay, the play to win the game is to punt the football, though.
But was it, though? Because
Yes, no timeouts.
Figurative.
So with 2:21 left to go, Washington called timeout. With 2:21 left to go, Oregon
Guys,
had a
he's breaking out the timeline.
96% to win, according to this ESPN thing I found. They didn't get it. Immediately right after that, went to 50-50, and then it became all Washington once they scored. They needed a touchdown to go ahead. I'd much rather make them drive the length of the field, and if they're going to beat me, they're going to earn it every way. But instead they went
2 plays 53.
Two plays 53 yards. Yeah. Like, they're not doing that when they have to go 75, 80 yards.
What's the difference if they do it from the 50 versus if they do it from the 30? Oregon's defense wasn't stopping them really that much. Like, granted, the defenses did show up in that second half, but like,
what's the difference? Because the clock is gonna run. All those plays in bounds are going to run. Like,
yeah, but both of these teams are built for the hurry up, you have 2-minute drill offenses. You saw that the entire game. Like, these teams lived off of throwing to the sideline. Except, Oregon was more of a, I'm going to gash you in the middle for 2 plays, and then I'm just going to kind of randomly throw the ball. But
I just really think that if I have to make a team go 75-plus yards in a minute and 38, or whatever it was, right? If I have to make a team do that, I will trust my defense 9 times out of 10.
So the way I can get on with the logic and the rationale behind it, if you have to make Michigan drive the full 80, I punt it. But on a team that is more explosive and has more big play potential, I'm going for it.
But in the second half, Washington had 2 touchdown drives. One, they went 65 yards in 2 minutes, 18 seconds. The other, they went 2 plays in 33 seconds. So the Oregon defense showed up in the second half, and if I'm Dan Lanning, my specialty is defense. I'm saying, listen, I have already botched this game on 2 separate occasions, not taking the field goal at the end of the half. And not taking the field goal, I think it was in that third quarter then. I've already botched this game, so guess what? I'm going to trust you to go out. And because all you need is basically one play to stop them in bounds, one play that's not a first down, and you win the football game. But he didn't do that. And I really think that Dan Lanning actually, he's like, I think that this is 100% on me. No, there's no think. This is 100% on Dan Lanning. You lost this football game. You didn't take the points, which I can get on board with because you're trying to put them away in the first half, at the end of the first half. But you punt the football late every single time. Every single time.
Every time? Oh, that's a much better line.
But
Are you guys
Robert,
done?
In your defense, I do understand where you're coming from, but it's just if it was 3+ minutes left, you go for it. But with 2 minutes left, 1 minute 40 left, you punt the football every time. You make them go. Yeah, now I'm done.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the he wants.
I just want to let everybody know as I'm making my picks live here on screen. Ohio State is a 4.5-point underdog in the game at the end of the season. Currently, so take
no,
that.
They're not. No, they're not.
Yes, they are a 4-point underdog. They're plus 4.5. I'm looking at it right now.
Ohio State is not plus 4.5.
Underdog in the game, not the
Michigan.
game this weekend. The
No.
actual game. Capital
I'm
T,
sorry.
capital G. The game.
Going into this weekend, yes. Sorry.
It's going into this weekend.
The number's also 4.5 for this weekend.
Oh, okay. I don't want to talk about this weekend yet. I want to talk about the USC Notre Dame game that I didn't watch, but you guys did, so I get to just set stuff up and let you guys talk about it.
Robert, go ahead.
I think this is the first time this year that we actually saw USC's offense be atrocious and their defense actually somewhat show up and try and keep them in the game, but Caleb Williams also looked like he should not have any say in what team drafts him, nor what team he tries to get part ownership of when they do draft him.
He definitely looked human, without a doubt. People were treating him like he was, and I'm trying to find the game. I have no idea where it went because I'm trying to pull up the offensive stats for Notre Dame. Here it is. So, yeah, everyone was treating him like the second coming of I don't know, pick an all-time great quarter. Peyton Manning, Trevor Lawrence. Like, people were like, he would go ahead of Burrow
Trevor
and Lawrence.
Okay. How about great quarterbacks that were drafted high? I don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to count yet. He hasn't done anything.
No, true. He hasn't done anything, but people treated Trevor Lawrence like they did Caleb Williams, and we're just quick to forget that.
Okay.
And people were treating thank you. People were treating Caleb Williams even higher than they did Trevor Lawrence, and now this kind of brings him back to earth a little bit. Robert, I just want to run this stat by you real quick. So, box score has it. Notre Dame, 28-point win. They played a complete game. We had a patient, and he was a big Notre Dame fan, Notre Dame graduate, and I said, "What'd you think of their win?" And he goes, "Well, they had to play the perfect game, and they did." Here's the thing. They only had 250 yards of offense. Their offense is still a problem, Notre Dame. They had 125 yards on the ground. Audric Estime actually got the ball 20-plus times, 22.95. Sam Hartman was 13 of 20 for 126, but because of the 3 Caleb Williams interceptions, they had short field. But they weren't driving the length of the field. In that third quarter, USC was still in it until that kickoff return for a touchdown. Notre Dame is in the polls. What are they up to now? Do you know?
15.
15. Too high.
I have it up in front of me.
Too high. Defense is good, obviously. The odds-on favorite going into the weekend, Caleb Williams, made him look like a fourth-round draft pick at best. But their offense is not good at all. So 15 is way overranked for me, but yeah, I agree. USC's defense was not the issue. It was Caleb Williams, which was something I thought I'd never say in college, at least.
Everybody has bad games. I didn't watch it, so I have no idea. But,
Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah, he's still going to get overhyped. They find a way to always, or properly hyped, to be fair. But, they always find a way. We are talking about a league that drafted Mitchell Trubisky and other people, and Ryan Leaf, they're going to find a way to overhype absolutely nothing, and at least Caleb Williams actually has something.
I feel really bad for Ryan Leaf. I'm just going to say that dude gets...
he does get just crapped upon. I will give him credit that he did a really good job turning his life around, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Hey, Robert, you just want to... I know you went off during the... Simeon, I'm going to just hijack it just for a minute.
You're good.
Robert, we got to give you your Colorado time. I know you went off during the live stream. I just want you to have your moment here, your 5 minutes of fame, to go off against Colorado and just beat your chest about it.
Well, we're seeing actually who Colorado is.
Oh, my gosh.
It's great, Colorado very possibly went from being overhyped to underhyped to overhyped to, this is... How do you lose to Stanford after being up 29? How do you have so much
defensive-minded coach?
You're up 29 points, and you have a quarterback who is just as arrogant as his dad is, to post on his merch store different things, and then go out and lose in double overtime to Stanford. Travis Hunter has an excellent offensive game, but then has an equally bad defensive game.
Literally, statistically, equally as bad, yeah.
He should have just... They might as well have just let him run free. He had 300 some receiving yards, the kid from Stanford.
Io Manor? Yes. Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, he was covered by a ghost.
294.
Ooh, spooky.
Travis Hunter can't stop a crossing pattern worth his life.
Hi, I'm Paul.
And there's even an article that NFL scouts are saying he needs to choose.
Yeah, you sent us that.
And it's true. He's got to be something.
Yeah.
Or he's going to be nothing.
Is he at this point? Is he a better receiver over a corner?
Yeah,
100%.
and that's literally what he just said, Makai.
Yeah,
that's how
he is a good corner for the first couple weeks of the season. Then he got hurt, and it's like, people say, well, it's his first game back. It's like, but he, as a receiver, he did this. I think he needs to pursue just being a wide receiver, and it's nothing against the kid, but you have to be special at something. You can't be special at everything. Dion was a freak athlete and was able to do kind of everything. Like, Travis Hunter, he just needs to be a wide receiver.
I believe in you. It's just me making random sound bites because I can.
That's all you. I am not commenting on Colorado Stanford because that's excellent. No, that's
I mean,
you're 100%
We don't need
right.
to. Yeah.
You're 100% right. There's no way, like, if you lose to Stanford, but you're only up 3 at half, or your largest lead of the game is 7, that's one thing, okay? Because Stanford's going to fight, change of culture, whatever. You're up 29 at halftime? Oh, my God. Okay, I'm commenting, and I said I wouldn't. So, man, go ahead. Every time. I do it every time.
Sorry. Georgia. Okay.
There you
we
go.
got the rankings out for this week. And I forgot about it, and I'm glad that your notes reminded me. So thank you, Micaiah, for making notes as always.
You're welcome.
Top 4, Georgia, Michigan. Another great win for Michigan. Covered for the 3rd week in a row, so congrats. Ohio State was on a... Nope, they ran. Florida State, Washington. Who had a bye week? I don't remember
Penn
teams.
State.
Penn State had a bye week.
Teams
Yeah.
3. But how does Georgia have 7 wins and Michigan have 7 wins, but the other teams have 6?
Because the other teams had a bye week. We just finished week 7.
Penn State played Massachusetts. Never mind.
Got it. A lot of other teams had bye weeks that
I mean, that is a bye week.
Yeah,
Let's not get it
completely, yeah.
twisted. You blame UMass as a bye week.
Penn State ran over UMass. If you had money on the over, you are swimming pretty right now. So, Georgia, Brock Bowers is out.
Yeah.
4 to 6 weeks. Robert, since you're the one who really brought this up, I mean, so did Micaiah, but you're Brock Bowers for Heisman. Are you freaking out if you're a Georgia fan?
On a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being a freak, I mean, I got to be at like an 8 because, I mean, he's the safety net. I mean, that guy, let alone being your number 1 receiver, he's your safety net. He's the reason they've won a couple games this year. He's kept drives alive. Someone's got to step up on that team now. Like, Georgia, if they start off slow, someone's got to carry the weight now. Losing Brock is big for Georgia.
I mean, Georgia without Brock Bowers would have 1 loss against Auburn, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's the consensus throughout the nation between us two, at least, Robert. What'd you say, a 5? I'm sorry, I was thinking of something else. 0, 1 to 10.
I'm like, at a 0 to 10, I would say probably like a 6, 7.
Okay,
Maybe an
all
8.
right. No, I'm right there with you. I don't think that they'll lose 2+ games without him, but he's probably not coming back until SEC championship game minimum. He might be back for the play. I mean, he'll definitely, if they make it that far, playoff. Here's the deal. My top 10 is Georgia. I made this top 10 before I got the Bowers surgery news. I got Georgia, Florida State, Washington, Michigan as my top 4. I have to rethink that now going forward. Obviously, I'm keeping Georgia there until they show me that they can't do it. But this game against Tennessee coming up is very interesting. This game against Ole Miss coming up is very interesting. Kirby Smart, and he's going to, is going to have to get this defense to show up from the jump because they can no longer their offense was never jump at you explosive. It was, oh, okay, we're in this game. Yeah, their offense is moving, and then you look up and you realize you're down 17 points. But now, really, you cannot mess around because your offense doesn't have that weapon. They got the running game going a little bit against Vanderbilt with Dejon Edwards a little bit, but they're going to have to – the running game's going to have to pick up, and Carson Beck is going to have to find another target.
I was just looking to see how long Tua was out when he had his ankle surgery.
Wasn't it 4 weeks? It was
27 days, so 4 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, it was SEC championship game, but he made it back in time for the playoff, right?
Yeah, they played Oklahoma.
To finish out my top 10, Texas, Oregon at 6, Penn State above Ohio State. That'll get figured out this weekend. I do have Oklahoma at 9 and Alabama. However, North Carolina's banging down that door to overtake Alabama.
Is it a little bit disrespectful, right? So Oregon lost. So the remaining undefeats that are ranked, Air Force at 22, probably should be higher. North Carolina at 10, and then 1 through 7 are undefeated as well. Washington, Oklahoma, Penn State were the ones previously not mentioned. Is it a little disrespectful that North Carolina isn't ranked at least 9? They just kind of seem to be like, yeah, you're good enough at 10, but Oregon, I guess, looked good enough, so we're going to put them, even though they just lost a game, we're going to put them at 9, and we're going to put Texas, who has a Red River rivalry loss, at 8. Because I think it's disrespectful.
This game, I think what's throwing people off, at least for me, about North Carolina, is their defense the past 3 years, has been just absolute garbage. And against Miami had 482 total yards, thank you, 28 first downs. That was only 20 yards less than North Carolina had, 5 more first downs than North Carolina. However, the big thing was Miami had 4 turnovers and North Carolina had 0. Up until this point, Carolina was playing really good defense, and I guess they played half decent defense to hold down the Hurricanes. But I think what's tripping me up at least is I'm waiting for North Carolina to start giving up 40-plus points again and just having to outscore people.
I mean, I'm okay with North Carolina being at 10. Texas having 1 loss to Oklahoma, who's currently at number 6. I mean, they beat Alabama when they were number 3. The resume is a lot more impressive than kind of what North Carolina's is. I mean, they beat number 25 Miami. And I mean, Oregon lost by 3 in a game they should have won against current number 5. So I'm okay with it. I just think, the strength of schedule, looking at it that way, like, North Carolina's schedule really isn't that great.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of where it comes back and bites them a little bit. However, you go undefeated, you got 1 loss rolling into an ACC title game against, say, Florida State, and you beat them, you're going to be in that convo for college football playoff without a doubt, especially with a quarterback like Drake May, with an offense that rushed for 235 yards on Saturday. I mean, Drake May was 17 of 33, 273, 4 touchdowns, nothing extravagant, but he just kept the ball moving, and that's what you need kind of in those games, especially when Miami's turning the ball over like they did.
Well, especially when you look at the top 7 being undefeated, the probability that I would say 5 of those teams are going to have at least 1 loss, 5 of those 7.
Yeah, I mean, Penn State, Ohio State, one of them's getting 1 loss this weekend. They play each other. One of them's getting 1 loss this weekend. I still think Georgia's going to trip up along the way somewhere. Michigan, maybe Mizzou. Michigan, I think, they got Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State. They could drop any one of those 3. They could drop one before. They could drop one to Michigan State if they fall asleep. Washington, USC's all of a sudden become very entertaining television. And Oregon I don't think is out of the woods yet. I mean, they still got to go Oregon State, and they got to play a little USC action. So, 100%. It's going to be a very entertaining final 6 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks, whatever it is.
Well, how about an entertaining week? The Gig'em Gazette. 2 days ago, Graham Harmon, Texas A&M football, the case for firing Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah, there it is.
Saturdays Down South says that I don't know how this works. I guess he has like a firing clause in it that owes him like $76 million if he gets fired in 2023. Robert, walk me through this. I didn't know this.
It's just your traditional buyout scenario where he gets, if they get rid of him this year, he gets, I think, like 76, 79, and then I think it goes down every year.
Yeah, it would be
unless it's a Mel Tucker type situation, then it's just like they just have to buy him out. I mean, that's
how
the way
hard
it
do you
goes.
think that they're working to find something?
Oh, they are calling that woman from Michigan State right now saying, I don't know what you got to do, but you got to Robert Kraft this man. We got to trap him. We got to get entrapment. We got to get him out.
For those of you that don't know, Tennessee beat A&M just as I predicted that they would, 20-13. I think the bigger story of this is that Tennessee actually plays a little defense this year. Last year, they did not play defense. Tennessee wants to run the football and play a little defense this year. Because Joe Milton threw for 100 yards. He had 50% completion, 100 yards, 4.5 yards per completion, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. They won the game because of a punt return because their defense had backed them up so far. They punted out of the back of the end zone. Robert, you called this on the live stream. He returned it like 45 yards for a touchdown. But also, your offense, you hired someone to fix your offense, not fixed. Your defense is an SEC defense, so comparable, but not good enough to stop a Tennessee that can't even pass the ball with Joe Milton. Can only run the ball. What are we doing? I mean, Harbaugh's like, see, told you guys, all you Michigan fans thought I was dumb. I do feel bad for A&M fans because that contract is just terrible. Go ahead, Sim.
Jesse Reese Simonton on Twitter.
Yeah,
Jimbo Fisher is a shrinkflation Kevin Sumlin. I saw this. After 76 games at Texas A&M, Sumlin was 45-22, 21-19 versus SEC, 13-12 versus top 25. After 76 games with the Aggies, Fisher is 43-24, so he has 2 more losses, 25-20 versus the SEC, and 10 wins, 14 losses versus top 25 teams. So I could have told you this before you guys hired him. You know, what was that, 3 years ago now? So to me, for going back to Texas A&M, the only thing you can do now is basically double down. You got to just pay recruits more money and hope for the best for the next. It's not less than $50 million until 2026. $50 million until 2026. He doesn't get into the single digits for his contract. Hold on. I have it up here. He doesn't until 2030. It's still $20 million in 2029. First of all, y'all are dumb in College Station. There's a reason that Texas came back before Texas A&M did. And second of all, what else are you going to do besides double down? You just got to spend more, I feel like, right?
You got to have a long, hard conversation with him. This is a sit-down time, and listen, the defense is right. Whatever A&M fans say about whoever he's got calling the defense for A&M is actually doing a really good job this year, okay? They are a sound defense. They're doing what they're supposed to. It's just their offense isn't going. Jimbo was a quote-unquote quarterback whisperer because he had all those quarterbacks at Florida State.
Okay.
This makes
one dude who's known for turning the ball over.
This makes him look like all those quarterbacks were just a product of the swagger and the acumen that Florida State had that draw recruits in. So, Robert, he's got to have let's call it what it is, a Jim Harbaugh moment where he's got to connect with these kids on a way to make them perform better. Because unless if some booster or group of boosters is going to write a massive check, or outside that Jimbo does something to get himself fired, which I don't think he's that stupid, we've got to have a Jim Harbaugh moment where he fixes this program and he turns it around 180 degrees pretty quick, because A&M's only other option is just tell the fans, just berate him constantly whenever you see him and just make him quit, because there's no way out of this.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, the unfortunate part is the only way to have a Jim Harbaugh moment, you got to give him another season. Because, yeah, he could go and they could win out the rest of this season, which is great.
But they got until 2029 until single digits, until his buyout Simeon. And what'd you say? It was in 2026. It's $20 million, $50 million.
Of course, I closed the tab. I thought we were moving on.
In 26.
Yeah, I think that's when it's under 30.
Under 30 and I mean, okay, so they're in 20. You got 3 more years of this.
No, 2028 it's under 30. 2026 it's under 50.
$79 million, is that really a lot for A&M? By having the most expensive, they have the biggest boosters, most money.
But at what point
at
what point do these boosters go, okay, we're shelling out all this money. This is Johnny Manziel money. We've redone the stadium. We've put all this money. We paid Jimbo now, and we're paying these recruits. I mean, Simeon, what you said about doubling down and just paying recruits more, that's not going to help if your coaching staff doesn't know how to coach them properly. And no quarterback is going to touch that. I mean, quarterbacks are going to choose Michigan, Ohio State. Here's a little
you're
fun
wrong, because you're still going to get the Johnny Manziels.
Yeah, but Johnny Manziel was a in a lifetime.
I'm not saying you're going to get the quality. I'm saying the attitude, the college attitude of Johnny Manziel is what you're going to get. You're going to get the guy who has the swagger, who wants to go to the school, who has the drip, who has the 12th man, one of the largest stadiums, one of the largest colleges. I can keep going.
But Johnny went to A&M because no one else
before they were
him.
anything. Right, before they were anything. Don't get me wrong. I understand. I'm just saying you're still going to get recruits. You're not going to get you're going to be ranked 15th, 10th in recruiting. You're not going to be up at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like Michigan, Ohio State, Bama, Georgia. I just named 4 teams they're not going to be able to compete with, because recruits don't show up if you don't win games.
If you're a top high school quarterback, are you choosing Oklahoma or A&M right now?
Oklahoma all day. I'm not saying your point is incorrect. I'm just saying there is an asterisk on it.
No, eventually.
Do you want to throw for 5,000 yards a season, or do you want to
No, for sure. Eventually, they'll find someone and they'll just hit on him.
I don't know if I would choose Oklahoma though.
Robert's still in this Oklahoma thing,
but in the sense that that Brent Venable, he's a defensive-minded coach. So saying, yeah, he's throwing what's it, Gabe?
Gabriel. Oh my goodness,
Gabriel Daniels?
No. Dylan
Gabriel.
There it is.
The kid's been there for a while, and it's not like he was a recruit of Venable. So we don't know what Venable's recruiting quarterback is going to be. So to be if you're a top quarterback, probably still going to Texas A&M, you have a better shot at being that starting quarterback and making the money compared to going to Oklahoma, who maybe is going to have a different passing offense under Venable's actual recruiting scheme. I mean, that's looking more into it and
right.
For the sake
he
of the
already
argument.
got a 5-star recruit, so you're incorrect. Jackson Arnold is playing football for him now. He's a 5-star.
What kind of quarterback is he though?
Who? Wait, what score are we talking about? A&M?
I think Oklahoma.
Yeah. No, Oklahoma.
I mean, A&M has a 5-star
quarterback
on the bench
5 stars,
too.
and 5 of them transferred out.
But Jimbo wants to run this pro-ish style offense And when A&M, the only time A&M has ever been good is when he is when they're a spread it out up tempo offense. For whatever reason, A&M's offense has to be flashy for them to be good. And under Jimbo, it's just not going to happen. So he's got to have a reset right now, and A&M's stuck.
That makes sense.
I mean, imagine if Jim Harbaugh had a massive contract and then all of a sudden just started sucking. Oh, wait, we did that, but he turned it around, right?
Also, Jeff Lebby is the offense coordinator for Oklahoma. If I have him, I'm going to him compared to Bobby Petrino. I don't care who you say. He's excellent. He's been excellent everywhere he's gone. Literally everywhere he's gone.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. He was under Lane Kiffin. I mean, if you're a quarterback, you're going to be able to...
Before that, he was under Scott Frost when he was winning national championships at UCF. Like, it's there. So...
Scott Frost.
Dude, man, what happened? Where is he even
I'm Googling.
Dude. Just some quick things. Kansas. Listen, I defended you last week, and then you burned me with your loss this most recent week. So you got to grow up a little bit. I think they lost to Oklahoma State, right? Like, time to grow up and be a big boy program and win games you should. And play a little defense. So that takes care of that. Louisville and Washington State. Obviously, we thought Louisville was fake. We found that out against a 1-4 Pittsburgh team. Washington State they got just molly-whopped by Arizona, 44-6, I think, right? Something like that. Let's just real quick, Robert, let's talk about Oregon State here. So Oregon State last week beat UCLA 36-24. Oregon's Dante Moore, for the quarterback for UCLA, he's a freshman. He's turning the ball over. That's expected. However, Oregon State is playing that type of football that the top teams at the top are. You run the football and you play defense. And then you have competent quarterback play behind it. DJ Uiagalelei, 14-24, 266, 2 touchdowns. Dante Moore had 3 interceptions, as I said, but Oregon State ran the ball 28 times, $133, 4.8 yards a carry. What do you think about the Beavers?
Yeah, I mean, it's finally a team that isn't your typical USC, Washington, or Oregon. This team's it's a scary team. I think, losing to Washington State early in the year, I think did them a lot of good because it kind of exposed them and just showed that they could be a lot better. I mean, looking at their schedule, they have 2 teams that are really going to set the pace, and it's Washington and Oregon at the end of the year back-to-back, which is brutal. But, I mean, if they win out...
College football playoff.
That's a number 4, number 3 team.
Yeah, for sure. They got to go to Colorado, which it's going to be a tough place to play. Regardless, that's going to be a tough place to play. Stanford.
Colorado could be up 35 and they'll probably blow it.
You know it, brother. They get Stanford at home. Stanford again, change of culture, and then again Washington at home. Oregon on the road for the Civil War, whatever they call it now, because the Civil War's been canceled for some reason.
Did they change the name?
They did, because it was canceled.
It's like the rivalry or something.
Oh, yeah, something
the
stupid
Great
like that.
Northwest rivalry.
Scott Frost is MIA currently. He sold his house when he got fired in Lincoln, Nebraska for a record-breaking $3.5 million. So
he's going to probably...
he purchased a new home. He purchased a new home in Arizona. He's probably going to be coaching for the Cardinals.
He's a good offensive coach. I think that, again, Nebraska, the fact that all those games were one-score games, I'm not trying to lament it because he made some dumb calls. But, I mean, I saw a stat when Michigan was playing Nebraska. Nebraska quarterbacks have combined over like the last like 5 or 6 seasons since Scott Frost took over for like 184 turnovers or something like that. And it's the most. Like, when your quarterback's turning the football over, either fumbling, which I can't stand, or interceptions, it's just going to happen. So he'll percolate somewhere else. Air Force, you touched on that. We got to give props to Air Force here because they're undefeated. They walked into Laramie and they beat down little Wyoming action. So good for Air Force. They take on Navy. I'm excited about it. So
they just lost their quarterback.
Oh, that's a big loss. Yeah,
for like a while.
So Air Force, what I found out is they basically replaced their entire offense this offseason, and yet they're still 6-0, 7-0, whatever they are. So shout out to the Falcons, but yet your decal on your helmet is lightning bolts. However, their uniforms honoring fallen pilots in World War II this weekend are fire. Go check that out. Google that real quick. All right, let's play a game.
Hold up. Robert sent something in, and we got a Lindsey Graham quote here. Robert sent something in the chat regarding NIL.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, Utah is offering everybody on the team a new truck, end quote, said Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican, South Carolina. Between the transfer portal, quote, between the transfer portal and NIL, college football is an absolute chaos. Guys, we finally made it. Okay, hold on.
A white man?
Old white men are commenting on college football.
Let's
officially
go!
now. Hey! It looks like Baker, who replaced Mark Emery, is lobbying for Congress to put in regulations for NIL money. Robert, is there anything else I'm missing in this thing that I should be reading about?
I mean, they were just talking about, like, with they want to make the students employees of the schools, and like later in the article, it said that the representatives of the athletes say they don't want to be employees, and that if they become employees, there's a very high possibility that Division II and Division III athletics will disband their athletic programs.
Well, I mean, he's not wrong about that.
Right. But I think as like a financial money situation, like Division II and Division III won't be able to employ like athletes.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as Congress was getting involved with anything, I'm just like, this is just.
It was like Congress with steroids. It's Congress with
this is
Congress
just going
with
downhill.
NIL.
Real quick before we preview,
come on, dude. There was even games last night we can talk about.
I was just going to do worst one-loss teams. That's what I was going to do. You don't want to do that? You just want to move
Alabama.
on?
All right, over. I'm just joking.
All right, fine. No one wants to
Worst
play.
one-loss team? What do you mean worst one-loss team? I saw that and I'm forgetting about it. Alabama, truly, maybe Iowa? Now that both Eric All, thanks, shout out Robert, and Cade McNamara are injured.
All right, so is that it? We just
Yeah.
it's just Iowa.
I opened it back
Very
up.
easy.
Okay, can I just do a quick scenario? Iowa, one loss, makes it a Big Ten title game, which right now they're in the driver's seat because they beat Wisconsin. Wisconsin, why they were so awful in that game, they lost Tanner Mordecai in the second quarter. I didn't know
I saw that.
So they lost Tanner Mordecai, and so now Iowa is probably going to win the West and face the winner of Penn State, already beat them down 31-0. Ohio State, I mean, that's a 31-0 win. Or Michigan, again, that's a 31 easy nothing win for them, as long as you pay attention. Iowa, one loss, makes it a Big Ten title game, forces like 4 turnovers, have a 2 punt returns for a touchdown against either one of the big three teams in the East, and they win the game by 3, right? So they are the Big Ten champions. They go into the college football playoff, or do you take the loser of that game?
They're not even going to be top 20.
They're probably going to drop like 2 more games.
So the Rose Bowl is the one of the semifinals. So I don't know where they would end up going, but they would get a New Year's Six. They're so pitiful offensively.
Makai, you're just repeating. I'm pretty sure this time last year we had a podcast with you saying the exact same thing.
Oh my goodness.
Well, this just further hammers home the fact that we have to do away with divisions.
Oh, for sure.
And it just has to be the top two.
They
That's
have
just what that does.
They have 146 points for them on the year. That ranks them third worst in their division. The only team
That's hilarious.
The only teams worse are Northwestern, 132 points, Minnesota, 130 points.
I'd rather see Minnesota in the New Year's Six Bowl.
Can't wait till
honestly.
they win out. Oh, it's so bad.
Their defense is good, only 104 points against. In the entire Big 12, that would be...
Who would you rather see in the...
That would be fourth behind the Big Three.
Who would you rather see? A 2-loss Notre Dame team or a 1-loss Iowa team?
If
That would
I
be an
was,
interesting matchup, though.
dude, 5 points maybe the entire game. Okay, yeah. Iowa is playing.
No, it'd be
Minnesota.
21-0.
Iowa's playing Minnesota this weekend. The over/under is 31.5.
Over.
By the way, the only two teams that are worse than Minnesota and Iowa at throwing the football are Army and Navy. Oh, I'm sorry, are Navy and Air Force. And they just don't do it.
Air Force hasn't been throwing the ball? How are they 6-0?
They run for like 350 yards a game.
Good for them. All right. Guys, Robert, did you look up what the most expensive ticket was?
I'm doing it right now, my man.
We only have 2 10:30 games, and they're both actually okay on Saturday. So we really can't play our game. It's Washington, Arizona State, UCLA, Stanford. Which one of those two would you want to stay up and watch if you had to pick one?
I'm going to say Washington, Arizona State.
I think I want to see more Michael Pittman. Michael.
Yeah.
Say his last name?
Penix.
Penix. No men in it. Michael Penix Jr. Yeah, I do. I want to see it a little bit more.
I might take Michael Penix actually in the Madden Fantasy League that I'm in with Robert come draft time. Get rid of that huge contract to Deshaun Watson if I can.
Ain't nobody got time to talk about someone who's trying to figure out something illegal someone's done. Liberty is also undefeated, 7-0 in this
they're
Conference
the fakest
USA.
7-0 team.
You know, yeah. Jacksonville State has showed up somehow in their first year. I think they just won a game last night. They did. They beat Western Kentucky.
Yeah, field goal late.
Yep, 20-17, and University of South Alabama said, "Suck on these nuts" to the Fighting Brett Favres of University of Southern Miss, 55-3.
Ironically, that's what Brett Favre said to some reporters back in the day.
Probably. He was probably don't remember it because of how many concussions he had. Tonight we got Florida International, Sam Houston. No one cares. And we have the other Aggies, New Mexico State versus the Miners, UTEP. Again, no one cares, but pick which one you guys would rather watch of those two games.
Oh, my gosh.
7-9.
Florida International, Sam Houston, so I can go to bed sooner.
All right, that's the correct answer. Tomorrow we got the old man.
James Madison and Marshall. I'll just cut you off.
Jalen Daniels? What's the dude's name who's at Rice now after spending a year?
JT Daniels.
JT Daniels. Yes, he's at Rice now. Tulsa. Yeah, the answer is James Madison at Marshall.
You can get tickets for Rice at Tulsa for $3, though.
Yep.
That's the
$3.
lowest.
That's
okay.
cheap.
Yeah.
Temple's going to lose to SMU Friday night on ESPN2 at the Link. So that takes us to Saturday. Which they have it listed right there off the bat. I might have to work, which is going to suck if I do. 7 ranked number 7 Penn State. We're just going to raw dog write this right away. Sorry. Number 7 Penn State at Ohio State in Ohio Stadium, 12 p.m. on Fox. It's big noon kickoff. Micaiah, we already heard a little bit from you. Robert, what you got on this game? What are you expecting to see?
Well, first, it's the most expensive ticket, 160.
All right.
Rightfully so.
That's a cheap, expensive ticket.
It is. That's actually very cheap, but rightfully so. It should be a slugfest. It should be the same game that usually Penn State and Ohio State always play. It should be Penn State tries to figure out Ohio State's defense. It should be Ohio State throws the ball a lot more than they should, and we're going to figure out which first-year quarterback starter is better.
I already picked this game. I picked Penn State winning, so Micaiah, what do you got?
Robert, you got a pick?
Over-under. So, we're good.
No, I mean, like, pick a winner.
Oh, pick a winner, Ohio State.
Okay. Can Ohio State run the football when they just can't all year? I mean, they found a run game last week against Purdue with Dallas Hayden. Travion Henderson is 2 yard, 2 yard, 2 yard, and then he pops a big one, and that ups his stats. But Ohio State has not, outside of Purdue, been able to run the football at all. And Penn State, they got to make an explosive play. Like, I heard a stat. Ohio State and Penn State both have like 4 plays of 20-plus yard rushes, and that's like last and second to last in the FBS or something like that. One of them's got to pop off. Now, Ohio State has the deep passing game. Penn State is just move the football, don't turn the football over. I think it's a close game. I'm taking the home team, though, Ohio State, because James Franklin is messing something up in this game, as he always does.
You know, we shouldn't have made our picks groups on Pick'ems on ESPN, excuse me, spread. We should have made it just straight up. That's 2 for Ohio State, 1 for Penn State. I don't know. It would have been more interesting.
Okay.
Robert, shout out. You're still leading that, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Just by a game, though. Look who's coming.
Game.
Look in that mirror.
Also, before we go over to the 3:30 time slot, shout out to Carrie.
Let's go.
66% correct on the season. 22-11.
Yeah, she's on fire, ladies and gentlemen.
And she knows enough. I shouldn't say she knows nothing.
I mean, she really just looks at the schedule and just looks up and makes the pick win or loss.
It's basically who she thinks is the better team.
It's based on vibes.
Yeah. Well, 22 and 11.
Vibes.
Yeah, clearly.
Vibes are good,
vibes
ladies
only.
and gentlemen.
I'd be interested to see who our losses are, but beside the point. 3:30, we got Oregon, Washington State, ABC. It's a good time slot at 3:30. CBS is Tennessee, Alabama. NBC is Minnesota, Iowa. I'm just shouting that out. What's ESPN at 3:30? Oh, West Virginia, Oklahoma State. That's not half bad. ESPN 2, Tulane, North Texas. Just put a pin in that. Alabama, Tennessee. This is gonna be a good game, is it not? After if Tennessee can do what they did last week.
Yeah, like I said, both teams want to run. Tennessee wants to run the ball, play defense. That's news to everyone because Joe Milton sucks. And then Jalen Milroe is almost as bad as Joe Milton, and they also just want to run the football and play defense. So whose defense is better? I am going to, however, take the home team again. I'm going to take Alabama just because they're at home. It's the revenge factor. And I actually trust Jalen Milroe more than I do Joe Milton. And I trust Nick Saban in that defense more than I do Josh Heupel and his offense. So I'm going to take Alabama in a close game, but Alabama.
I think that's fair. Robert, what you got?
I actually think Alabama wins this by a bunch.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I think Alabama's defense plays a big role in it. Joe Milton is Joe Milton. He's going to do what he does, but I mean, he made a lot of mistakes against Texas A&M, and I just think Alabama comes out. They're fired up. Big game, home game, revenge game. You know, Nick Saban is sitting there rewinding and rewinding and rewinding every time they threw that goalpost in the river. You know, that was their Super Bowl. Alabama comes out, I would not be surprised if Alabama wins this by 2 touchdowns, if not more.
So 2 Alabamas. I'm going to take Tennessee just to be different because I can. Michigan State. We obviously have to talk about it for 2 seconds. How badly is Michigan going to destroy Michigan? I mean, I think it's lead in the water situation. Like, that's how bad Michigan's going to destroy Michigan State.
Yeah, I mean, last year, again, it was like, what was the final score? Like 29-7, and it was really only that close.
And one body.
And one body. Because Jake Moody kicked out like 5 field goals.
Who
Michigan
also missed the game winner. Hold up. Jake, what you doing, dude?
First
name.
First one of the season. The season.
You missed the game winner.
Dude.
It's from like 40 yards too. Like
well within range.
Yeah.
Well within range. I feel bad for him, but keep it up, dude. All right, continue, Makai. Sorry.
Michigan just can't mess around. Like, listen, if they look at this game as they have a little more intensity than they have every other game, but knowing that it's 1-0 every week, they'll be absolutely fine. Their defense is outstanding. We will find out. Michigan State is a much better offense and defense than any other team they faced to this point. However, it's just close game first half. Michigan just romps them second half, I think.
It's actually one of my picks.
Okay. All right.
Okay, we'll come back to it then. Okay, what 7:30-ish? The one game's at 8. So what late game do you guys want to watch more?
You don't want to talk. You don't want picks on Duke, Florida State.
That's why I'm. Dude, do you want to watch Duke, Florida State, or Utah, USC more? I was getting there.
What about Army, LSU?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a close game, I think. They're in Tiger Stadium, so LSU's going to have something. Watch LSU give up, like, still 35 somehow to Army, like one of the lowest scoring offenses.
400 rushing offense.
Here's the thing. It might be 21-24 late in that game because Army just controls the clock the entire game. They did that to Oklahoma and Michigan a few years ago. All they did was just control the clock, control the game, first down, and then they play clock all the way down. Anyway, I would rather watch Utah USC. How does Caleb bounce back? And it's another good defense.
Is that game for anything? Like, it's the kind of Washington-Oregon show at this point, isn't it?
Utah only has 1 loss.
So does USC.
So you just gotta, if you're Utah, you're surviving until Cam Rising gets back. And if you're USC, you gotta figure this out, and you gotta figure it out quick. I like the Trojans to bounce back. Caleb Williams, again, he's human now, but he's still a really good human at football. I think he bounces back, and especially without Cam Rising, I just can't take Utah. I just can't do it.
I would tend to agree with that. I don't think I need to add anything as of I'm not, going to do it. But watch me be wrong. Robert?
I'm more into the Duke Florida State game.
All right. Well, that's a good transition. Just quick pick who you got, USC or Utah.
Oh, USC, Utah? I'm going to go USC. Without Cam Rising, Utah's just not good.
So Utah's going to win by 35, apparently, because we just all picked USC. Duke, Florida State. Robert, you really think Duke's going to be able to do it? Isn't their quarterback out for the season?
I don't think he was out for the season. I thought it was just an ankle sprain.
It is an ankle sprain.
I don't know if he's coming back this week or if he's coming back next week. But, I mean, Duke's defense is still good.
Yep.
Held North Carolina State to 3. I mean, not that North Carolina State is great either, but Florida State, we're going to see if Florida State can keep the train rolling. I mean, I think they're 14.5-point favorites. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this game is a lot closer than what the analysts think and what Vegas thinks. I still think Florida State's going to win, but
it's at Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee.
You threw an L in there. It's Doak Campbell Stadium.
I thought that's what I said. I apologize to Doak Campbell. Robert's picking Florida State. Micaiah is what it sounds like. Who you got?
Yeah, Florida State in an absolute romp.
Yeah.
I'm going
I think
the
Florida
exact,
State's pretty scary.
I think this is 2+ touchdowns. Just because Keon Coleman, by the way, they're going to eventually create an award for most impactful transfer, and they're going to name it whoever the first most impactful transfer, and he should
Ken
win
Walker.
it. They'll name it the Kenneth Walker Award. They were on the same team at Michigan State. He should win it this year because what he is doing right now at Florida State is absurd. He is a day 1 draft pick that will go day 2.
Money, please.
It's that time. The time we make you some money. Now, Micaiah, last week's record, I did not do too hot. I was, 1-2 last week?
Mm-hmm.
You were 2-1, and Robert was 1-2?
Yep.
So you won the last week. I see your picks here. They look interesting. They look good. But Robert, since we're there and since you have one that we already talked about, we're going to start with you in your picks, and we'll go in the circle as we always do.
All right. I'm actually going to give a nice little Thursday game.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah. James Madison and Marshall.
No,
Okay?
come on. That was one I picked.
That's right. James
You-
Madison, -4. Put it on the board.
You guys know you can pick the same game.
No, well, so first of
That's
all, I
not
got them
fun.
at -3.5. So Second of all, it's not as fun. He is correct about that. But I'm pretty sure neither of you have my other picks. So
Are you
got-
changing it? Are you changing that one? Or are you
I'll
sticking with
I'll
it?
see. I'll find something. We'll see what happens. I'll do my other two.
Okay. All right. So are you next or am I next?
No, you're next.
All
You're
right.
next.
And this is how we're going. All right. So the king of the castle right now. I know that I'm in second, but listen, I'm coming hard, and everyone knows I'm a second half team, just like the maize and blue here. We got 2 defenses and 2 teams that want to run the football down there in Tuscaloosa. It's going to be a revenge game. I have no faith in Joe Milton. I have very little faith in Jalen Milroe. That's not confusing at all, and I'm glad I haven't messed that up yet. Here's the deal. 48.5 is a lot of points. I'm going under. I think this is a 24-14 type game, a 27-17 type game, something where it doesn't make the over. So I am going Alabama, Tennessee. Give me the under, but roll Tide for victors.
Roll Tide. I realized the error of my ways last week, and it was picking games that I didn't necessarily know the most about. And then I saw this over-under, and I said, dear Lord, and I started licking my chops. Over 63.5, North Texas at Tulane. This game is a 3:30 game that you should watch out for. Yes, I know what I just said, but North Texas has been, them the Green Hawks, or whatever they are, and they've been throwing the ball around. They've been scoring all the points on everybody and anything. Tulane plays defense sometimes, doesn't play defense sometimes. I think this is going to be easily like a 32-35 sort of situation of a game. I'm feeling good about this one.
So what was the number again?
Over 63.5.
All right, perfect.
Robert.
Gonna go with the rivalry game here. Michigan State.
Oh boy, here we go again.
That's what I wanted you to start with, but also,
Now,
how many times have you been wrong this season, Robert?
With
when you
Michigan?
picked Michigan? Yeah.
well, I've been wrong, but Michigan's been winning, so it's kind of working in my favor.
So you're okay taking the loss as long as they win?
31-7. Michigan still wins, but Michigan State plus 24.5. I'm taking them.
All righty.
I just don't see that at all.
You don't have to.
Plus the
I mean,
31.5.
That's fair.
24.5.
Oh, 24. Actually, that's not bad. I actually kind of like that because, yeah, I mean, you can still.
31-7.
It's a 31-7. It's not it hasn't been a game since like midway through the second
Yeah.
quarter. Yeah, 100%. I am going to go with a game that no one will watch because it will just rip people's they'll just want to rip their faces on. Everyone but Pat McAfee, because he's going to tune in to watch Torrey Taylor punt the football 10-plus times a game against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Athan Kaliak-Manis is just not great at football, and Iowa's defense is really good at football. Iowa doesn't have a quarterback, and Minnesota's actually pretty good defensively, but Iowa's just really inept. I'm taking Iowa minus the 3.5 because they're going to get a special teams touchdown. They're going to get a safety, and I'm not sure that Kaliak-Manis can score even 3 to 7 points on this defense. I mean, Michigan's defense made him look silly, and I think Iowa's defense does much of the same. So give me Iowa minus the 3.5, and this could be like a 24-10 type game, 24-3 type game.
Dear Lord, I'm not going to enjoy this pick, but I'm going to make it anyway. This is my makeup pick here. Army plus 30.5. I think, Micaiah, you were spot on when you said Army controls the game. I don't think they're going to let, even if it's like 28-0, I don't think they're going to let them score more than 30 points. And, you know, we don't know what they're going to do. Who knows? I would love if this game was an upset, let's be honest. LSU's due for a good, shouldn't have lost upset sort of loss. No?
I actually like that a lot. No, I'm
okay
on board with that because I think it can be a 24-point win, but Army just eats up a quarter and a half.
Yeah.
So, no, I like that a lot.
Robert, this is your last pick, right?
Yep.
Awesome.
Keeping it in the fashion, got to do an over-under.
Here we go.
Live and die by the sword. Noon game. Penn State, Ohio State.
Yeah, here we go.
46.5. Gonna be honest. I think the game is one of those traditional Big Ten games. It's going to be kind of low scoring, but you know what? I saw what Micaiah just put there, under 46.5. Over 46.5 this time.
Okay.
Again,
both
humans
teams
are pretty dumb.
27-24.
Okay.
Ohio State. Just saying.
Listen, I put under because you're like, hey.
I know.
I think I'm going under.
I can't hate him because I'm not going to lie. I did look at that a little bit too long. If that was going to be my next pick.
I did too. I almost took the under with that game. I just don't know. Ohio State's defense is very good. Penn State's defense is very good. I just don't think Penn State's explosive enough. Michigan only beat them last year because they had 2 plays in the first half of 75-plus yards.
Yeah, you don't know. We don't know if we're going to get a Penn State offense that actually looks more than a freshman level, or if we're going to get a Penn State defense that just looks like they eat everything in sight and then something. So, who knows?
So I'm also going to stick with the Penn State-Ohio State game, but here's the deal. These games somehow are always close. Except for that COVID year, these games are close. Penn State always finds a way to lose, but the games are close. I think this is a 24-20, 24-27, 20 type game.
Are you stroking?
I am.
Dear Lord.
I think... One more.
Somewhere in the 20s.
I'm trying.
Somewhere it's under 4 points.
My name is Jeff.
You take a dart, throw it, it sticks.
Yeah, I'm going to do one more. I think this is a 14-17 type game. There, I got out of the 20s. Anyway, I think Ohio State wins, but I think Penn State keeps it within 4.5. Give me Penn State plus the 4.5.
That one's gonna hurt.
That was so terrible. You're right, but we got there. We got there
eventually. All right, guys, this one is totally my gut.
Here we go.
It goes to the man who needed to see a podiatrist this week because he broke his foot in frustration. Shout out to Robert for that news.
Hey.
Micaiah. I'm sorry. Micaiah for that news. I apologize. It's always the managers taking credit for the work other people do.
Wow.
You're not wrong.
In this case, the manager did do the work.
You had one, Joe. Just the one?
So, South Carolina upset. I'm not just the money line. Upset over Missouri. I think if we're talking about fake teams, I think possibly, we obviously Kentucky's the more fake team, but I think, if you break your foot and coach shows up with a boot on, you're going to work a little bit harder if you're a team. You're going to be like, oh, he's pissed. I need to actually work for him. And I think this is that time. Now, South Carolina is at Mizzou, so that kind of sucks. But I think it's all emotional. It's all vibe. I'm going with the carry. It's South Carolina to upset Missouri.
Don't hate it. Could very well happen. I don't know what the over-under is for that game, but I'm taking the over.
Yeah, I don't remember. Let's go look real quick before I...
before you sign. You're just going to look real quick. Keep everyone...
Before I hit the button, because I hit buttons. Over 60.5. Over 60.5.
Easy over. Easy over, ladies and gentlemen. I should swap out one of my picks. Swap out my 2021 pick.
Look, I can't talk. Me and Robert can sometimes. It's been the 4th and 1 podcast. We'll see you again next week, guys.
Wash your hands, you filthy animal. Enjoy your college football Saturday. Somewhere in the 20s.